Hello there, and welcome to another edition of the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. My name is Jay Angel. I'm going to be your podcaster for this evening. Guys, I know I'm always excited about podcasting, but this one, boy, we have a lot to talk about, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time. But Pamela Wirth is not just a kayak angler, she's also an adventurer. I cannot believe somebody who would take a kayak offshore in the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, you guys know I used to work on the Gulf of Mexico. I've seen what it can do. And this lady goes out there to fish for billfish in her kayak. So without further ado, Pam also has a huge announcement to make. Whew. Pamela, how you doing?
One breath. That's great. You did all that in one breath. I'm pretty impressed.
One breath. Radio announcer, yeah.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate you inviting me on. This is so nice. You're always a joy to talk with.
Well, thank you. But let's talk about this.
Okay.
How many miles? Well, you probably don't even know how many miles you have to go out to catch billfish, but
it depends where you're going. If I'm going for billfish, I'm really going to go over to the east coast of Florida, out of the Pompano area, or Boynton Beach, kind of that area, or down toward Dania. There's resident sailfish down there. They're a little bit more prevalent toward the first part of the year, February, March, but there's residents there that are always there. You have to go out anywhere between, like, I don't know, about 65 feet to about 250 feet.
65 feet. That's not very deep for deep water fish, you know.
Well, if you look at maps and you look at you look at the Gulf Stream, you can see that the Gulf Stream kind of comes in around that area, and it brings all the bait fish and all the pelagics with them.
Okay, so tuna too then? Tuna or pelagic?
Yes, Joe Hector just had his SummerSlam 1 last weekend. I couldn't attend. My husband's been a little under the weather. But they got a swordfish, they had sails, a lot of tuna, matter of fact, the guy that won the tournament brought in 2 tuna. Not the giant ones that you think of with wicked tuna, but still 25-pound tuna are a nice fish.
And out of a kayak,
they're fun. My first tuna
you're going to go on a boat ride. It's going to go on a sled ride, huh?
Exactly. My first tuna I got on a jig, and I was just beginning to learn how to gaff, and it's kind of like a jack. If anybody's caught like a jack crevalle, they'll kind of circle like a jack.
Sure.
So the first time around I missed it. Second time around I missed it. So I tried a different gaff. Third time around I missed it. Fourth time around I missed it. So then I was mad because I saw a shark. Now I see a shark coming in the area. So I just grabbed the leader and grabbed his tail, and I don't know how I did it, but I just flipped him into the kayak. And right after that, the shark went, nah, 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 nah.
That's awesome, man. You know, that's why when I wrote this up, I said, just to call this lady a kayak angler is just not really telling what she is. She's also an adventurer.
I love it. I love fishing different areas. I've been to China. I've been to Panama, I've been to Costa Rica, and my next adventure is a week from Friday. I'm headed up to Canada for the biggest kayak tournament in the world, and that's Hobie World. I'm super excited.
World. Oh my goodness, like the likes of Christine Fisher, you know?
Yes, talk about intimidation. I have to, thank God she's on the U.S. team. But I have to fish against her, and also Brian Nelly, also an extremely accomplished inshore and offshore angler, as well as I think Brandon's there. I don't remember all the names. I'm really sorry. So I apologize to all you guys, but you can look it up on Hobie World. And it is an amazing. I am literally
just go and have fun because.
I was going to say, I am literally the rookie. I have got to sit here. It's Lake St. Clair. And if you look at Detroit, it's directly across from Detroit. And people think, what are you talking about? Canada is so further north. Canada is almost further south than Michigan.
It is. Parts of Canada are south of Michigan. I used to live there. I mean, I lived right on the shores of Lake St. Clair in Anchor Bay. and we caught amazing walleyes and smallmouth bass right off the shores of Selfridge International Guard Base. What I can't even talk. This is exciting. Lake St. Clair. I've had so many people on my podcast who talk about Lake St. Clair because it's one of the best smallmouth fisheries in the world, but also it's one of the better walleye fisheries in the world.
Well, that's what they tell me. Kind of the target is large and smallmouth bass. And in Canada, the lake doesn't open until the weekend we get there. So we're going to be technically on the Canadian side, the first people to fish that lake. So those fish haven't seen a lure since last fall. So I'm super excited. I've never, ever targeted smallmouth. I've never caught a smallmouth bass. So it's going to be a big learning experience for me.
Man, yeah, talk to some people if you need some. I have a lot of contacts up there. Some very, very good people. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah. Tim Perry's up there on the Canadian side. He made the Canadian team, and he's one of the top kayak bass anglers up there, and he lives off that lake. So I'm definitely going to, like, as they say, sit at his feet and listen to him. Yep. And I know that Brian is going to share information, and so will Christine. They're both, like I said, also, they're both on the team.
You are used to fishing clear water. That's clear water up there, man. You're going to have fun. And to see a smallmouth bass going like this up through that clear water, beautiful sight. Absolutely beautiful sight. See a big old walleye go, then you have them hooked.
That's cool.
Gives me goosebumps, man. That is so much fun. Gosh, that's fun.
I had a really good friend
for you.
Yeah, Joe Camati went to the Detroit side a couple weeks ago, so he's going to send me some of his handmade jigs. He's a jig developer, so I'm looking forward to using those up there also. So I'm going to pack up. I'm going to fly in. I beg your pardon?
When I think smallmouth bass, I think jigs.
Yeah,
absolutely. Jigs was fantastic bait for smallmouth. I've caught smallmouth up to, 6 pounds on jigs.
Nice.
I spent a lot of time in the Great Lakes chasing smallmouth. It was a big part of my life when I was younger. I was in 2 different bases in Michigan, and I spent my entire Air Force career chasing smallmouth bass and walleyes. And in my spare time, I controlled air traffic. So.
There we go. I'm looking forward to it. Everybody's telling me drop shot, and everybody's telling me basically add a 3-inch paddle tail to it. So I have a couple little tricks on the saltwater side that I'm going to bring with me. So I'm pretty excited about that. Is that the color? What color is that?
This is it has a lot of different colors, but it's pearl. Okay. I've caught a lot of smallmouth bass on this kind of stuff. But drop shot, something like this, if that thing just going like this, jeez. But
I'm looking forward to it. Go ahead.
Congratulations. I'm thrilled for you.
Thank you.
What I wanted to talk to you about is Florida redfish.
Okay.
You've been posting some pictures, and anymore, now that actually in Louisiana, where you can't keep a bull red anymore, you've been posting some pictures where, like,
those are your breeders. We haven't kept a bull red in Florida in years. 27 is the limit.
I'm not complaining, but just the ones you've been posting are like tournament winners.
Yeah, I've been very blessed. Right now, I'm the reigning champion of the Florida Redfish Series. I didn't make Angler of the Year. Matt Lanier did that. He's an extremely talented angler out of the Tallahassee area. But I was very blessed, and I ended up winning the championship last fall. So, yes, I'm the reigning champion. If you come to Tampa, I would say if you want a redfish, start in Louisiana, because God bless you, they're the dumbest fish I've ever seen in my life. As I told you, I caught them on top water next to the boat. You come to Tampa Bay, if you're within 20 yards of that fish and you move the boat, those fish are going to move. Our water in Tampa Bay is gin clear. It's heavily pressured. Oh, I'm a Four Horsemen guy or lady. Nope, I live on Four Horsemen.
I'm sorry, but what I wanted to show you is those teeth marks.
Yeah.
You said about if you put a hook on a popping cork, you will catch redfish.
You put a popping cork in Tampa Bay and the redfish will run.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I love redfish, and I really have been enjoying Chris. Gosh, I hadn't. Oh, Chris, I'm so sorry, I can't remember your last name, but he's done a great job with the Florida Redfish Series. It's one of the few kayak saltwater series since we lost the IFA. So I'm really thrilled that there is another saltwater series out here. We have our championship is going to be the 21st, around the 21st of September, out of the Steinhatchee area. If anybody's there, come watch us, join us, cheer us on, boo us, whatever you want to do. And the other nice thing about kayakers is that we are CPR on a tournament. We are catch, photograph, and release. It is the safest for the fish. And I just had a blast in Jacksonville. I did a team kayak tournament. The elite tournament. Yep, the elite series. I think matter of fact, they're in Louisiana this weekend. But it was a team. First time I've done that. I was privileged to fish with Sean Belts. He lives in Jacksonville. We ended up 5th out of the whole crew. So I felt really good about that. We had a good time, but that was a live weigh-in. So that was really interesting for me to try to keep a couple redfish alive while we still continue to fish and upgrade.
How did you do that?
A lot of people built live wells. Now I have some really excellent insulated live wells that I use for offshore. But if you figure, what is it, 8 pounds per gallon? And how many gallons do you need?
Yeah, 50.
So I used kind of like a stringer, but it really did not it didn't go through the gills and it didn't damage the fish at all. So that worked really well.
Jeez, that's like 400 pounds on your.
Exactly. Thank you. And when you go offshore and you have the waves coming, the waves coming at you, so you go up and down. It's like your kayak. You're like doing this. Sorry if I'm making you guys sick, but that's what it feels like. You go as the wave comes towards you. You kind of slow down, and then as you're going down the wave, all that momentum of the water sloshes forward. It's really kind of a weird feeling until you get used to it. I like trolling lures and jigging.
So how would you? What is different about catching redfish in Florida in the clear water as opposed to Louisiana shallow water with that's stained? Okay,
Florida has different areas, and some people think Florida is all the same. Jacksonville is closer to Louisiana with the darker water. Jacksonville has a mud bottom, and most of the water is very dark. But they've been pressured. It used to be I could go to Jacksonville and it was like Louisiana and pick up redfish. But it's been very pressured. And I wouldn't say most of us, a lot of us catch and release. And Louisiana, I found, they thought it was very odd that you ever let any size fish go back in the water. It's just a different culture, very different culture.
Very different.
You are blessed with a state that raises redfish and releases them. Florida did that years ago, but the fish they released, they found had cataracts, and they stopped the whole program. Years later, they found out it's natural for a redfish to get cataracts. So CCA in Florida is doing an awesome job of helping to restock, especially we've had the red tide. In certain areas like Tampa Bay, it is very, very hard to catch redfish on artificials. So you take a chunk of bait and throw it underneath a mangrove line, you're going to catch a redfish or a snook or a trout. But to use arties, it's a lot harder. As I said, we have a lot of pressure. Except for Key West, I think we have more captains in this small area than any other place. So if you have a boat that goes out there, and the captains are good, and they have 4 people on the boat, and they fish 5 days a week. Think how hard those redfish are hit.
Yes.
A lot of the captains are really good, and they'll let their clients pick up 1 or 2 for the boat, because that's all you really need for a dinner. You don't need to catch, everybody limit out. Trout, redfish will freeze, trout won't. But, and again, between the pressure, the red tide, and the clear water that's only a couple feet deep, it is a challenge to get a redfish. And I teasingly tell people, if you can catch a redfish in Tampa Bay on artificials, you can catch a redfish anywhere. Now, if you move up the coast, as you move up, you end up to Homosassa. I love the Homosassa Ozella area. It was very pristine when I started fishing back in 2015. It's getting closer to Tampa Bay. The water is still very, very pretty, very clear, but the pressure is starting to come. So you go further up and you hit Yankeetown, which I love it. It's like a 1,000 little islands, and they're all made out of oysters. So if you're running a boat, you have to be very, very careful, because again, over here, if you're going out in the bay, you can go 3-4 miles out and still only be in a couple feet of water, 3-4 feet of water. We don't have, on the other side, there's on the East Coast, you have big tide changes. Over here, it's more like you all. We don't have really big tide changes that come and go. But as you get a little further south, you hit Swanee. Swanee is more of a darker tannic water. So it's kind of a little different skill there, a little bit more muddy bottom, a lot of fun. And then Steinhatchee. Steinhatchee is big grass bottoms where you can use big topwaters. Those fish just trounce at topwater. So that again is a lot of fun. They're not so hard. They'll eat. If you see them and get it in front of them, 9 times out of 10 they'll eat. And then you have like the Big Bend area, which again is a rocky bottom, creeks and things like that. So it changes all the way up as you go, up through the Panhandle and through Florida.
So have you ever had a redfish come up and turn over to grab a topwater lure, grab it upside down because their mouth's on the bottom?
With the overbite, there's 2 lures really 3 lures that I like. I like the old-fashioned Head and Spook Jr. I'll switch out and put owner hooks on them. Their hooks used to be outstanding, and it seems like 2 years ago they may have switched hooks. I don't know, but I had a lot bend out, so I'll put owner's hooks on it. Owners are a little heavier, and they tend to let the tail sit down a little more. The other one I use when I hit darker water, brackish water, Swanee, is the Rapala Skidawalk with kind of the orange bottom. I took that also up into Louisiana and had great success with it. Additionally, in Louisiana, I took a lot of the MirrOlure she pups or she dogs because of that high pitch. The water is so dark there, that high pitch really was great in calling them out of the weed line. The other one that I just started using and had a lot of success in Jacksonville in like Mill Cove, which is clear water, was Florida Fishing Products has a topwater out that is very successful with. And again, the rear end sits lower. So to answer your question, no. I use lures basically that the rear end is going to sit a little lower in the water so that treble hook is a little lower and the redfish doesn't have to come up over the lure to actually take it in. That was a long explanation for an answer. Sorry, guys.
Do you use swim baits then?
I use a lot of swim baits. My favorite bait, and I can hardly get it anymore, is the Band of Anglers Dart Spin.
Okay.
The front of it is like about 2.5, 3 inches, and it has Z-Man makes it a little flash on the end, so it looks like a tiny spoon behind it. Extremely effective in clear water and even more effective in cloudy or tannic water. I have caught tarpon, redfish, big snook. I know y'all don't have that there, but big snook, everything will eat the dart spin. And I do. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I found something this little thing right here. It's called a Mojo shrimp.
Uh-huh.
This color right here is called Pineapple Express, and it has as you can see, it has a heavy duty hook for as small as it is. But this was designed. He has a bigger model too, but this was designed to go under a popping cork because of course it's not going to work in the clear water. But for Louisiana, I have caught so many slot reds on this thing.
Awesome.
And
Congratulations.
I can't believe that, I've even caught them up to 40 inches long with this, but that something that big would go after something this small, but they do.
Well, the dart spin is about that size, and my biggest red was 42 inches.
That's a big one.
Yeah, on the dart
So what
spin.
about
On the dart spin.
Florida? So Florida redfish, do they run, do you get big ones too?
In the fall, the bulls are run through.
Okay.
So we'll have the bulls in the fall. Otherwise, it's your normal, what you're going to find too from your pups, because we have a good estuary here. So you get from your little rat reds all the way up to, 26, 27, 28. They'll all fall in there. Lately, I've seen a lot of rat reds, which sometimes it upsets people. It doesn't upset me at all. I'm thrilled. It shows that the next generation is there and they're healthy. And in a couple years, we're going to have a really nice, healthy stock of redfish.
What that means is you had a fantastic spawn.
Exactly.
And just like you said, the next generation is plentiful. And so in a couple of years, we're going to have us some fun.
If you're catching slot redfish and you're not catching any rat reds at all in any of those areas, I'd be worried. I'd be worried for, in the next 3-4 years, what are you going to have?
And I'm pretty much retired from tournament fishing, and I don't guide anymore either. So I just fish for fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind catching the rat red.
Oh yeah, I started tournament fishing as a dare. Somebody looked at me and said, "Oh, you can't beat any of the guys." And I was a novice. I didn't know any better. And I go, "Okay." He goes, "Let's enter this tournament." And I went, "Okay." And I ended up second. I didn't know what I was doing. But I think if people go and fish tournaments for wanting to win, the ego to win, I think that's a shame. I fish tournaments, or I started fishing tournaments because you learn so much. If you fish the same water every single time, you learn that water, but you don't learn anything else. And if you're tournament fishing and you have to go pre-fish and it's tournament day and it's blowing and it's cold, you have to fish and you have to learn how to fish that water in those conditions. So when I have a nice day, it's like, it's like Christmas, yay!
Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about. I was a fishing guide for 17 years.
God bless you.
And for half of that, I fished tournaments too. I mean, I was never home. I just wanted to be on the water. And
there's my first mate. That's Opie. She sits on the back of the kayak.
Dog goes in the kayak with you?
Yeah, unless I don't take her offshore, and I don't take her in Swanee because there's alligators there. But yeah, so it conditions me because she's like around 21 pounds. So if you have that extra 21 pounds on your kayak, and then come tournament day, if you leave her at home on tournament day, well, you think you're flying across the water. No kisses. So
awesome. So you have a fishing partner.
The other lure that I've done really well on, and it's not like I'm trying to promote any club or anything like that, is Salt Strong has their fluke, and it's in the slam shady color. Now Z-Man makes jerk bait or fluke. It depends if you're a freshwater person or a saltwater person. It's exactly the same thing. Z-Man has the same color, but because of the way they make it, it's a little stiffer. If you look at Salt Strongs, and you can get them online, they're so flexible that I've won or placed really well on so many tournaments because of that jerkbait. I'll use a 5/0 twist lock owner's hook with it, so I can turn around and make it weedless, and it's really great. So those are my two go. Yeah, that's kind of my 3 go-tos, and a spoon. I have no hesitation to throw a spoon over, especially if it's a windy, overcast day. It's easy to run. It stays weedless. My favorite is the Johnson half ounce, or I'll use the Aqua Dream 3/8. Those are the
Aqua
two that I'll
Dream.
go with.
Yeah, I have some Aqua Dream spoons. Old
There you
school, I
go.
love it. That's just old school. You know, a lot of times, if I know the redfish are there, throw out a spoon and keep it on top of the water, and it just sits like this on the top of the water, and they'll come right up and grab it.
Yeah, I love it. And again, I love trying different things. I love fishing in different places. Uh, I don't see how people can fish the same spot all the time. I mean, it's great.
That's
You learn it
guiding.
inside out, but I mean, that's like,
Yep.
I mean, the first time you have chocolate ice cream, which is my favorite, in case anybody wants to know, it's great. It tastes wonderful. But if you eat a gallon of chocolate ice cream at the end, it's like, ugh, I don't even look at this again. That's how I feel about, areas where you fish.
Well, yeah, I guided for so many years. I did get burnt out, and it
I
took me.
would be nervous. People have asked me, they go, Pam, you're so good with people and everything. Why don't you guide? My stomach would be in knots. I have other pro staff come down from Native Watercraft, from up north, and like, I want to get on a snook, or I want to do this or that. My stomach is in knots until they're on fish. I don't know how guides do it. I don't know how you do it.
It's for me, it was really cool to meet all these new people and to teach them how to fish. I was out there to teach them how to fish, and I told them, you pay me for my time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't guarantee fish, because you can't guarantee fish. You're a fisherman, not a magician.
You're
You
right,
know,
right.
I can't make them appear. I told them that if you take me out and charter me, I will take 3 years off your learning curve,
Right.
or a couple of guide trips. And that applies to any water, because you can use the techniques I show you, because I'm going to be teaching them, talking the whole time. So I like to talk. That's why I'm a podcaster, and my boss tells me I like to talk too much. But so, I'm telling them how to fish. I'm showing them how I'm using my rod, and it's you have to become one with your rod. Your rod is actually an extension of your mind. And so you're sitting there doing, imparting action into your lures, and that's what I really got paid for. If they had kids, I would entertain their kids.
Yeah, I have people that come in the shop every day. Where do we fish? And we'll give them locations. Sure, we're going to help them out. We'll give them locations. But and then they'll come back, we saw fish, but we couldn't get them to bite, or blah, blah, blah. And I told them, I said, you know what? You can go out 10 or 15 times and still be frustrated. Or let me give you the name of 5 different guides. You can call them up, take a guide, and it'll take 3 months off your learning curve.
Yep.
I said, and don't take this wrong, Jay, but don't be a guy. And the husbands usually look at me and go, what are you talking about? I said, ask questions.
Yep.
I said, when you're talking to the guide before you hire him, ask him, what equipment does he use? What does he like to do? Is he, I usually hire fly guides because I know they know how to hunt. Okay. Yep. Because I don't want to use, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I use artificial. So I kind of don't want to go out with somebody who depends on bait all the time. Yes. But if you're just starting, that's a great way to learn. Go out, listen to them, ask questions. I even make, okay, Jay, don't laugh at this. I make the guide fish with me. Yep. Because I want to see what lures he's using. As you said, how is he or she moving the lure? How is are they holding the tip up? Are they holding the tip down on different lures? Like my topwater, I tend to hold sometimes a little higher, and I don't look at it. And people go, aren't you watching your lure? And I go, no, it makes me nervous. They go, why? I said, because you can see the redfish come up behind it, or the snook come up behind it and hit it, like a dolphin. I said, exactly. So I don't watch it. I'm looking at the water for the next place I'm going to cast, because the second he hits it, I'm going to feel it. I fish with braid. I love my Daiwa. Matter of fact, the Daiwa rod that I use for my topwater is one of their top shot. It's a bass rod for top shot, or for drop shot. Sorry about that. For drop shot. So it has what I like to call like kinetic energy, or like a shock absorber. It's going to go down and it's going to come back. And all you have to do is move your rod to the side. I don't even tell them to set the hook. On a topwater, you should never set the hook at first.
Yeah.
I said, just move your rod to the side and start reeling. As soon as you feel the fish take off, if you want, give it one little tug. I said, because if you set the hook right away, you're going to pull that topwater right out of a redfish mouth. Right?
In fact, I have actually told my guests when they pulled away a couple of times when they are topwater fishing, I said, I have a bandana. If you'd like, I can tie that around your head so that you can't see. Because what's going on with your lure is none of your business.
Right.
None of your business.
And then I'm sorry.
Invariably, you're going to pull it away from the fish. And then we're going to have to find you another fish, and that's not always easy to do.
Yeah, my friends that come down and want to get a snook for the first time, and they're bass guys, oh my gosh. My lecture is on the topwater, just put your reel to the side, put your rod to the side and start reeling. And they want to set the hook. And they send, especially if they get like a little snook that hits it, or a little trout, they send that thing flying across the water. And I have to keep yelling at them, it's not a bass. And as they cast, I'll yell, it's not a bass. It's not a bass. Just to the side and reel. I said, you get a big snook, decide and reel. You'll know that snook is there. Trust me.
Oh, yeah.
And a snook's mouth, and a snook's mouth on the inside is so thin that you literally will rip it.
Yeah, I've done that to crappies when I'm bass fishing and a crappie bites, and I set the hook like I would on a bass, and I come back with crappie lips. Oh, I feel bad for the fish, but if you don't set the hook on a bass, a lot of times you'll lose them.
All right, thank you for letting me know that.
Oh yeah, when you go to Lake St. Clair and you're fishing for walleyes and smallmouth bass, you better set the hook.
Okay.
Hard mouth fish. Also, there's muskies in there, and they have a hard mouth, and northern pike have a hard mouth. It's such an exciting lake. You're gonna have so much fun.
I'll have to remember that because I don't set hard hooks, even with the redfish. Even they have a hard mouth. Like I said, I've been so blessed. Owners are such sharp hooks and keep their sharpness that I really haven't had a problem with it.
Yeah, well,
but.
Smallmouth bass, you gotta set the hook. Yeah.
Set the hook. Okay, I'll have to remember that in my head. Somebody will have to yell at me. Set the hook.
Smallmouth bass will let you know that they're there.
Okay.
When they bite, they don't mess around. They're such an exciting fish, and they're beautiful. And you get the big ones that look like footballs. They're brown and they look like footballs. Oh.
I know. I told somebody when I found out where we were going, I said, oh, I get to fish for green fish. And the guy goes, nah, Pam, you're fishing for brown fish. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, you're going for smallmouth. I went, oh,
bronze backs. Now, there are, in the shallow water around the docks, there's going to be some big smallmouth or big largemouths that don't get targeted that much. I mean, there are a lot of bass tournaments on St. Clair now. But when I was living there back in, don't even want to date myself here, in the early 90s, I caught some amazing largemouth bass. And everybody's like, why would you want to fish for those? Because they're like,
I'm looking for inches. This tournament it's CPR, catch, photograph, and release. So I think it's your best 5 fish. It's a 3-day tournament. So it's your best 5 fish for over 3 days. Well, 15. I guess that would make it 15 fish.
Is there what species can you target?
Right now, we're still getting information, but right now I know it's bass, smallmouth and largemouth. Okay.
Because I was going to tell you to go for muskies because they'll get up to 40, 45 inches long. But yeah, smallmouth, largemouth, a lot of them there.
And there's 52 anglers. We're all launching from the same place. So that's going to be interesting too. And in a kayak, it's not like a boat. There's only X amount of, I average in a good day about 15 miles round trip. But you figure in a kayak, for y'all that don't fish out of a kayak, figure a kayak is more like your trolling motor on low. And that's the speed you're going at. So you're at 1 to at the most 3 miles an hour. And I'm probably going to be one of the oldest anglers out there. I mean, I'm a nana. My grandson turned 1 last week.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm pretty thrilled about that.
I would be
so
too.
there's no way that I'm going to how do I say this? If there's a pedal race, I'm not going to win it.
Yep.
But if it's a distance, I'm pretty good on distance.
And also, you know how to handle the big water.
Yeah, the weather should be good. The long range forecast. Hobie World did a podcast, live Facebook podcast last night, and announced the teams and everything. And they said the outlook looks pretty good. They said the weather is going to be warm, low. I mean, I guess lows in the 60s, which for me, that's cold.
Yeah, it's cold for you.
And possible rain, so I'll bring some rain gear. But overall, I'm pretty excited. I mean, I pray I'm not the one who doesn't catch anything, but I'm more excited about being out there, meeting the international team. I looked at teams from UK, and there's somebody there that I met in China. He was on the UK team to China, Morris, a few years ago. So that's going to be fun to see people I haven't seen in years. And my roommates excuse me?
You know how to jig. Get yourself some crawfish looking stuff. You know, that's always popular with smallmouth bass.
Okay.
Already had 36 minutes. I hope. She's back. No.
Did I fade out on you? Did I fade out?
Okay. Yeah, we faded out on each other. Yeah, you did, but that might have been me. I don't know. I never know. It's just a mystery how these things work. But anyways, do you have any shout outs you'd like to do?
Yeah. I really want to thank I earned this place by winning a tournament in Louisiana called the Fallen Tide, which there was about 200 entries. So I was thrilled about that. Nice. So I need to thank the Bayou Kayak Fishing Club, and of course, Native is my ride. Daiwa, I live and die by my Daiwa rods and reels.
Sure.
They're the best. And if you're in the South and in the sun, especially, I use Fish Monkey gloves. I think, I mean, I've seen people and what their hands look like, and I'm a guy, I love Lucy red hair. So I burn easily. So those are great. And of course, owner hooks. Those are my always go-to. And if I need to move my kayak on wheels, Boondocks is the way to go, guys. So,
yeah, and finally have a comment from the audience. Is from Brenton's. He says, "Congratulations. Looks like I'm late to the show, but you know, Brenton congratulated you for qualifying for the Hobie Worlds. Thank you very much for coming, Brenton.
That. Thanks. I want to shout out to my husband, Dave Wirth. I couldn't do it without his support, and the guys all out, Tampa Fishing Outfitters, who have to work more shifts because I'm going to be gone. Sorry. Not.
You know, when people ask me what it takes to make it in the professional fishing world, the first thing I say is you have to have the undying support of your spouse.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you don't, you're going to lose your spouse and your job. Well, you also need a job that's going to put up with you being gone, like you also said.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have both parts of that equation, you're going to lose them both.
Well, the cool thing about Tampa Fishing Outfitters is we do a 10-hour day. So most of us have 3 days off. And everybody there fishes. We have people that just basically do offshore, people that fly fish, we have got a couple of captains that guide, inshore, offshore. It's like we tournament fish. So we're not going to steer you. That's a nice thing. We're not going to steer you wrong. We're not a bunch of kids just out of high school looking for a summer job. What we tell you is what we're using.
That's awesome. Yeah. Hats off to you for that. Because I can always tell you can't BS me about fishing. I live this. When I go into a
Exactly.
place and start talking to them, you don't fish, do you?
See, I kind of do the other. First of all, they assume I know nothing because,
I don't
I'm
ever
the,
assume that if I see a
I'm,
woman at a fish
yeah,
shop. No.
I'm the age of their Nana, and I'm a
Yeah.
girl. So they're like, oh God, she's probably fishing for, probably buying something for her husband or her kids or something. And it's okay. I'll play dumb because I love you guys. You guys will tell somebody like that more information than you'll tell a guy who, thinks he knows it all.
Gonna
So
go up there
oops,
and burn your
sorry.
spots. Okay, Pam, it looks like you turned off your voice, your microphone. Yeah, I can't hear you. Okay, yeah, I still can't hear
Can you
you.
hear me?
I can hear you now. Great, you're back. Fantastic.
Okay. Whoa, that was weird.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and talk to our listeners here on the Let's Talk Fishing podcast. Also, best of luck to you. Huge
Thank
deal you going to the
you.
World. Huge deal.
Thanks. Well, y'all
Fantastic.
follow along. If you have someone who, go look, you can see all the different team members for Team USA. Follow us along. I'm going to try to get something out every day. I know Christina is going to get something out. Brian Nelly will get something out. Lambert's another one. He'll get something out. So follow along and cheer us on, especially if it's a rainy day, please cheer us on.
Yes. Yes. Well, anyways, thank you for everybody for tuning in into the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. Again, my name is Jay Angel. I was your podcaster along with kayak fishing extraordinaire, Pamela Wirth. And Pam, please stick around for 2 minutes after the podcast.
Sure. And thank you for inviting me, Jay. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome.